What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Monero in this video. Shout out to Mr. Hat for requesting this one. We're doing this for you. If we're looking at the weekly RSI, truthfully, guys, I've tried to make this video actually for the last 30 minutes. I've made like 4 or 5 different cuts. This is, I think, the 6th one. And the reason why I keep restarting it is because I keep getting off track with Monero. I stop talking about the TA and I start talking about the philosophy and the fundamentals, and I just get caught off on all the what ifs or the maybes, and I'm going to try to not do that in this take. Okay, I'm going to try to just keep it to the TA. But the reason, hopefully without getting too off course, the reason why I get off course in the first place is that we need to understand what we're talking about here, right? Most coins that we talk about on this channel, they haven't existed this long. This one's existed since 2014. Higher lows each cycle. That's an accomplishment that every crypto can dream of, cycle to cycle, let alone since 2014. Like that's an accomplishment. It's the first privacy coin. It's the most used privacy coin out there. Privacy is valuable in all aspects of life, right? I don't care who you are. It's a valuable thing, especially when it comes to your money. I think it's a very valuable thing. And it's utilized, right, for various purposes, nefarious purposes, good purposes. You know, I'm not going to pretend that people aren't using Monero to do illegal things. Absolutely they are. But people use dollar bills to do illegal things far more often than Monero. So there's that answer to that. But I'm going to stop getting drawn away from the TA. We're going to get into it, okay? I just think this thing is slept on. I think that Monero, at a market cap of 2.7 billion, at a rank of number 37 in the top 100, I think this is one of, if not the only one, it's one of a few in the top 50 that have 100x potential in them. And that sounds crazy. I know it does. Yes, Monero, that's been at the exact same price, that's been a stable coin since July 2022. That coin has potentially the most potential for overall growth this cycle out of anything in the top 50, genuinely. And if it doesn't, I say potential, that doesn't mean that it has to. It's just the only coin, I think, in the top 50 that's undervalued. Maybe other than like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, right? Maybe XRP even. But there's not many. Most coins in the space are overvalued. This is actually one that's undervalued. And that market cap scares people away because they're looking for lower market cap things to get into. But this thing being undervalued the way it is, I genuinely think it could be worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And at that point, I think it's immensely, disgustingly undervalued. I'm going to stop talking. We're going to start doing TA. I'm going to keep talking, just not TA, or only about TA. Monthly RSI is very neutral. Price action is very neutral. We're not going to get a lot of help there. Okay. All I can say is that this is one of the most tame bear cycles that we saw ever. Not just from Monero, but in the crypto space, man. That's a very tame, from a high to a low, you only move down 81%. That's like something that only like Ethereum and Bitcoin do. Most cryptos, if not all cryptos, move down 90% or more, right? 81%, that doesn't seem that significant, okay? But let me show you. Let me show you where 90% is, right? 81% is right there. 90% is all the way down here, right? 90% is at 51. That low happened at 113. 81% to 90% is a 9% difference, yes, mathematically. But when you look at it here, 113 at the, sorry, 96 at the low, 96 at the low, where here it's 51. That's a huge difference. That's more than just a 9% difference, right? It's only a 9% difference from the top, but all I'm trying to say is 81% to 90% is a big deal, okay? 81% itself is a big deal because that is a very tame bear cycle. Very lackluster bull cycle last phase. What's crazy about that, though, is this double top generally would be the death, especially with that lacklusterness. Like, it'd be the death of most cryptos. But this one actually had the most tame bear cycle ever. Like, I think the only one that had a more tame bear cycle than that was Bitcoin. And it had dramatically higher lows, right? Like very, very, like it didn't even get close to this. If we look at the relative low here to the relative high here, you're hovering around your 382, looking like you want to break out above it. I think when you do get above it, you'll probably make a nice move up to this $260 area at the 236 here. And inevitably, I would expect you break out, right? I do think that you'll break out of this long phase of consolidation you've been in since 2017. And from this high that brought you into this phase to the low here in the COVID crash, you know, your expectations would be anything from like $1,000 to $3,000. by the end of the cycle, you're at $146. And this, by the way, you guys, this is my expectation for the end of the cycle. And I still think Monero is grossly undervalued, even at these prices, right? I do believe that in time, it just might not be this cycle, but in time, Monero will be valued appropriately. And when that happens, like, dude, this thing could be worth a lot of money. This would be a good one, I think, for a long-term investment. There's not many cryptos that I think are good for long-term investments, but Monero has proven itself, I think, and it'll continue to do so. Genuinely, this coin, maybe it's 2 cycles from now, not next cycle, but like 2 cycles from now, maybe it's 3 cycles from now, but it could be worth like 100 grand, man. It could be worth tens of thousands, 100. It's worth 146 now. It's not the most exciting thing, right? Because it's not going to do that this cycle. It might be 12 years down the line, but dude, this thing has the potential. I genuinely do believe it's grossly undervalued. So again, I'm doing a lot of talking without doing TA. I'm going to get back to the TA. If we're looking at the weekly RSI is very neutral, but more bullish than it is bearish, right? Definitely more bullish. You're living above the 50 a good bit. You're living below it still a good bit, but a little bit less, I would say, relatively speaking. Getting overbought a couple times without really getting oversold. You did get a little bit oversold, to be completely fair, but you're definitely spending more time in these bullish areas. You do have higher lows, relatively speaking, kind of got higher highs, relatively speaking, too. Overall, a neutral RSI, but I would give it a slightly bullish look, okay? And that makes sense that it'd be overall neutral because your price action is overall neutral, of course. If we look at the daily RSI, somewhat bearish, it would indicate that you actually might even want to go down a little bit, but I would think that if you were to move down, I would think you move down, actually. High to low. I think you do. If you don't, cool. Like if you move up and I'm wrong, cool. But if you do move down, I think you move just below this low here, so probably like around 130, 120, and then from there you move up. But genuinely, come on, man. Yeah, maybe you do. Maybe you go to 130, 120 right after this, and then you pump. Genuinely, though, I think you are coming to your limits. As far as time goes, you don't have much in this area, right? Maybe you go lower, sure. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But for the amount of downside that you may or may not have over the coming days, over the coming weeks, over the coming months, you have a lot of upside. You're at 146. I would think by the end of this year, you double that. You could genuinely be above $300. And by the end of the cycle, I mean, who knows, man? You could be genuinely as high as like $3,000, $2,000, $3,000. That's kind of my expectation. But that's all I got to say. You know, I feel like I said what I wanted to say, and at the same time, I didn't say everything that I wanted to say. But I'm trying to keep it more relevant. But I will end it with this, man, is that I mean it. I think that Monero is very undervalued. I think that it has a place. I think that privacy coins are valuable, and they have a place in this space. And Monero is the top dog as far as privacy coins goes, man. I don't think it's going away. It's one of the few coins, not just in the top 100, but that exist in crypto, that I'm confident will be here more than 10 years from now. And not just be here, but still be being used. Probably being, let me rephrase it. 10 years from now, I bet Monero is one in the, like, out of all of crypto, man, 1% or less of all of crypto will be used more in 10 years than they are today. Right? As much as every crypto, what Solana might be the most used one right now. Maybe it's SWI, maybe it's Ethereum, maybe it's like whatever. But as time goes on, they will only begin to get used less, and phased out, and they'll be things of the past. We'll be like, oh, you guys remember when Solana was supposed to change the world? Oh, I remember Ethereum, you know, like stuff. And I don't know if Ethereum will phase out. It might not, but what I do believe to know is that Monero will not phase out. I think that Monero is one of a handful, not even a handful, man. It's one of a very small amount of coins that in over a decade from now will not just still be used, but it will be used more than it is now. And that's saying something. All I'm trying to say by that, all that means, in other words, is that it will only gain value from here. It'll only gain value. And this might not be the cycle. that it does crazy things. You're at 145, going to multiple thousands of dollars is crazy. That's awesome in a relatively short amount of time. Talking about a year or so, right? Maybe even less than that. But if you think that's crazy, tens of thousands of dollars, man. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially, could be in this thing's history when it's all said and done. Like 10 years from now, 20 years, 30 years from now. Like, genuinely, I don't know. I don't know, man. I feel like I had a better way that I wanted to end this video, but I'm going to end it there. So hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. Monero's definitely going up. I think it moves down a little bit first. You're at 146 right now. You probably move down to about like 130, 120, that area. That's my thoughts. If I'm wrong, then cool. You're just going to move up instead. But I do believe that when you're done moving down, when you are ready to break out of this range that you've been in, you're going to move probably very near $300, if not just below it, just above it, somewhere around that area. And then when it's time, you're going to break out to new all-time highs, bro. Maybe not that dramatic, but still, it'll be phenomenal. So that's all I got to say. If you guys liked the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.